Hello, my name is Norma Cervantes, and this is my video about my final project in African American English versus Something Black. And this experiment, I try to describe and respond to what it means when people state that someone sounds Black and what it means to speak African American English. Not all people know that African American English is a variety of English with a unique structure with salient grammatical, phonological, and lexicon patterns. However, they do identify that African Americans have a different communicative pattern. We have asked 7 participants who live in the United States to watch and listen to the speech of 2 famous actors in a pair of clips. We wanted to see if they were able to appreciate the difference between someone who speaks standardized English but still presents some African American English features than someone who speaks for the most part African American English. They were asked to respond to who do you think sounds blackest and why. These 2 actors were Will Smith and Denzel Washington. I hypothesize that my 7 participants will choose Denzel Washington as the speaker that sounds Black the most, since he has a stronger phonological pattern of African American English and also a greater use of grammatical and lexical items of the language than Will Smith, that uses more of a standardized English lexical pattern. The participants that I choose are bilinguals, and they speak Spanish and English. And I choose these participants because I wanted to see if people that is not a white speaker could also perceive these salient characteristics in the language varieties.
Is a really interesting confront with fear, right? So I gotta stand up. I'm sorry, I gotta stand up. All right. So all your friends, what happens? You go out. I dropped my thing. So what happens is you go out the night before and you take a drink with your friends and somebody says, "Yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow." And you go, "Yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow." Yeah. And you go, "Yeah," and everybody goes, "Yeah," right? And you go home by yourself. You're like,
Congratulations to you. And you did it all by yourselves. Nobody helped you. No, that's Dutch. That's what I thought when I was young. I starting to really make it as an actor. I came in. I talked to my mother. I said, "Ma, did you think that this was going to happen? I'd be so big, and I'll be able to take care of everybody, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can." She said, "Boy, stop it right there. Stop it right there. Stop it right there."
I think that Denzel Washington sounds more Black, and I'll tell you why. When Will Smith is telling the story of what happened when he was skydiving, I closed my eyes. Actually, I closed my eyes throughout the entire interview. And to me, it just sounded like a regular person talking. There was some cadence in his voice, yes, because Will Smith is very charismatic. He's very charismatic. So when he talks, he makes people listen because he has a very, very vivid way of expressing himself. However, I will not place him in any race because he doesn't have what Denzel Washington has, which is when Denzel Washington was telling the story about his mom and how he was telling his mom that he made it, that he was a superstar, when he was saying that his mom said, you ain't a superstar because a lot of people were praying for you.
My opinion is that for me, it's Will Smith speaks more as a Black person because the difference that I have seen during all these years, listening to different kind of accents, for example, depends on the nationality, depends on the culture, and the black people, for their culture and for their history, they have like a very particular way of speaking, and sometimes a little bit informal, and sometimes, well, most of the times, they are very expressive, and Will Smith is very expressive, more than Denzel Washington. That's why, for me, Will Smith speaks more as a black.
After reviewing both videos, there isn't necessarily one or the other that does sound the blackest to me. However, when being asked to interpret whether a video of a black man sounds blacker or sounds more black than the other, it brings up the issue of whether or not there is a stereotypical or a stereotype as to what is supposed to be more black than other. And in thinking about that or having that come to mind, clearly listening to Will Smith talk and being more relaxed and being more nonchalant, and talking a little bit more in slang and not full sentences, and just being more in conversation where it's not as formal, then that don't normally gives off the appearance of that being more black, because it's more playful, it's not full sentences, it doesn't have to always be grammatically correct, and that's that stereotype. And then it comes back into basically, what we've learned and what we've been programmed as a society to understand, and what we think sounds black. And then, of course, if we, from the assignment, think that should be what we think should be hood, and then what's been used in terms as like the ghetto and whatnot. In the other video, when it's Denzel Washington speaking, it's assumed that it perhaps doesn't sound as black because he is talking to a group of college graduates and he is being more formal in his use. And that can always be something that's been brought up in that sense. I have more issue, I guess, with trying to figure out which one sounds more black, because that really just comes back down to the stereotypical, what you think of that. And usually when that comes down to that, you're asking somebody about what their potentially racist tendencies are and what they've grown up to believe and see in society and what they've seen on TV, what they believe is considered to be black, the same way that we might categorize someone as to be Latino. If they speak a certain way, if they have an accent, if they speak in slang, if they don't complete their sentences, if they're not grammatically correct. So those are my 2 cents.
I will conclude that most of my participants chose Will Smith as the speaker who sounds the most black, because there is an age difference between Denzel Washington and Will Smith, and most of the participants identify themselves with Will Smith because he's younger, he's more funnier, and Denzel Washington is more formal when speaking. So they considered Will Smith to use more of the variety of the African American English language because of the implications that he maybe speaks with more slang because he's younger and may use more of the patterns, stereotypical patterns seen in African American. But in terms of the aspects I revise in their speaking, I noticed that Denzel Washington had more features of the African American language than than Will Smith.